Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. And of course, here's your meme of the day brought to you by 5mind.com. Well, they said that it couldn't be done, and even people on the right were dooming and glooming, especially in the early days. Those are rookie numbers, they yelled as Tom Homan announced however many arrests that ICE was getting a day. Well, I remember back then saying, slow your horses, calm down, let this operation kick into high gear, and then maybe at that point, we can start properly analyzing this operation. And well, the numbers are looking pretty massive. And so to all the people who said mass deportations were a fantasy, a scare tactic, an empty slogan, it's impossible, too complex of an issue, well, boom. We're now getting the numbers from the DHS, and it seems like in the first year, we're already at 2.2 million and on pace to hit 2.85 million by year end.
When you talk about people that have left this country using the CBP Home app, those who voluntarily left, those that we have actively detained and deported, that number is over 2 million people since the Trump administration has come into the White House. That is an incredible, record-shattering number of individuals who were here illegally that are now gone. And when you think about the ripple effects of that, the amount of resources that frees up to focus on the American citizens, it's remarkable the good work that President Trump has been able to do. I would say that by the end of this year, those individuals who have been detained or arrested and deported will be over 600 to 650,000, and then we include many more that are still voluntarily going home on their own as well.
Yeah, those are not rookie numbers, my friends, and that's year one. That's before full-on ICE expansion. That's before they've been able to get their tactics fully dialed in and collect all the data. This mass deportation thing, folks, it is working. Let's talk about it, shall we? We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so there you go. 2.8 million by the end of the year one. Yeah, I think it's time to stop the doom and gloom. There's people who kind of just gave up and said this crisis was permanent. But if this pace continues, we're likely looking at over 3 million a year. And sure, we'll probably see slight diminishing returns. But even with diminishing returns, a decade of this pace or close, you're talking about totally reversing the damage of illegal migration in the country. I think the estimates are anywhere from 30 to probably over 50 million. I lean towards more over 50 million. Well, a decade of over 3 million people a year getting deported, that's over 30 million people. And that is a good thing for regular Americans. Of course, the professional class is panicking, the big corporations, the people who don't view America as a country, but rather as a stock market, they're in utter panic right now, and it's why the AI boom is also in full effect, because they want to replace their cheap labor with robots, which I have to say is a better alternative. But for the first time, America's population is shrinking, and that is a very scary concept if you're a massive multinational corporation that just wants to continue to push growth above all else. But for normal Americans, for people who have been crushed by the cost of rent, groceries, healthcare, daycare, the list goes on, this is a blessing. This is the best thing that could happen. Maybe GDP might suffer. Maybe not. It really depends on some other factors, but at the end of the day, I know the left is harping on this over and over again. My personal opinion is that I don't even give a crap. I would take 10 years of economic stagnation if it meant my peers could actually catch up to the cost of living. I've got a lot of friends, a lot of family members. I know what young people are suffering through right now. My generation is struggling. And the idea that you would prioritize number go up on graph over those people, over my peers, my loved ones, who in some cases are actually doing quite well for themselves and they still can't get forward, I'll tell you, it's just not worth it. The cost is not worth it. And it's not just the illegal migration, it's also legal migration. It's both. Because of course we know even work visas and professional work visas, they're being abused. And in many cases, people are engaging in immigration fraud. So in a way, that's also an illegal migration crisis. But the mass ballooning in migration, instead of tackling birth rates, just replacing young Americans. And then once you turn that spigot on, it just keeps on going and going, and the water pressure seems to be rising and more is coming in. It's just gotten completely out of control, and frankly, it's wrong. American citizens, young Americans, are getting the short end of the stick. And that result seems to be the opposite of what, the political structure in a nation should be aiming to achieve. I think government should be working on behalf of its next generation and young people to make their lives better, more affordable, not replacing them and ignoring their interests on behalf of the interest of the corporate lobbying class. It's freaking wrong. And of course, it goes even beyond the economic harms, the true economic harms, not number go up, but everyday economics and how it affects regular people. The damage goes beyond there. It's also the human carnage that's attached. You know, the left frames their stance on immigration as compassionate. Just let everybody through the door, they say. That's the compassionate thing to do. But it's kind of hard to make that argument as if you're the most virtuous Dalai Lama when the pursuit of your supposed compassionate policy unleashes a massive wave of harm and human suffering. How much of a hypocrite do you have to be to advocate on behalf of the illegal migrant as if, ooh, you are so virtuous, meanwhile, you just shipped tens of thousands of children and women into human smuggling?
It's terrible. We've never had such a bad problem with child labor trafficking and child sex trafficking. And it is enabled by the Biden administration's policies of catch and release at the border, and then the relocation of the migrants to their destinations with almost no questions asked, no monitoring of what's happening to the kids after they're let out of government custody, and no vetting of the people to whom they're released, and no enforcement at the workplace to detect child trafficking, no incentives for law enforcement agencies to try to disrupt these truly evil rings and individuals who engage in this trafficking. It's all just getting worse because the numbers continue to flow in over the border illegally, and it's really astonishing how much the Biden administration is willing to look the other way at this insidious practice, all to justify its mass immigration policies.
And that's exactly what the compassionate policies of Joe Biden allowed. That's what open borders gives you when your system is this chaotic. Just lifting a damn fence and allowing thousands upon thousands of people to enter every single day. You can't possibly process all of those migrants and maintain legitimate standards. And when you signal that, oh, just show up and we'll give you quasi-legal status, we'll allow you to claim fake asylum, or we'll give you a temporary working status, you think that you're doing something right. You're certainly doing something right for the human capital that's needed by Amazon. But in the process, you're allowing gangs and smugglers and coyotes, drug dealers and drug mules and drunk drivers into the country, murderers in some cases, just psychopathic serial killers. And really the worst stain of all is the children. Hundreds of thousands of unaccompanied minors were simply allowed into the country and released in the custody of people that the Biden administration did not even vet. We already know that the Trump administration has saved over 20,000 of these young children from inhumane environments, and that work goes on.
ICE announcing a brand new operation to conduct welfare checks on the 450,000 children that the Biden administration placed with unvetted sponsors, some of whom were sex traffickers, gang members, and abusers. The Trump administration has already located more than 24,400 children, and some of these stories are absolutely heartbreaking, like this one. A 1-year-old unaccompanied minor crossed the border during the Obama administration. That little girl is now 12 years old. During her 11 years in America, she lived with a series of relatives and endured horrifying abuse. Among those who abused this innocent child were her one-time sponsor, a distant uncle that she was placed with in 2024, despite being an illegal immigrant with a criminal conviction. That alleged abuser was given temporary protected status by the Biden administration. Here is video that Brooke Taylor obtained of the Trump administration arresting that man just yesterday. This is just one of the nearly 500,000 children that the Trump administration is seeking to protect.
ICE is now doing welfare checks on the roughly 450,000 children that Joe Biden and Democrats neglected. And I think that right there that exposes everything. Because we've seen all of this pearl clutching about mass deportations being cruel. We've seen the chaos in front of ICE facilities, the attacks on ICE agents as if they're inhumane, jackbooted thugs, they're the Gestapo. Look what this administration is actually doing. The real cruelty was the Joe Biden agenda. Trump coming in to fix the problems, to save the children, to get rid of the criminals, and even deport pretty much every other illegal, which is the right thing to do because you have to have control of your borders, you have to have a proper vetting process. That is not inhumane. That is the right way to do things. That's common sense. That is humane. And I think that's what's being proven. And also another thing that's being disproven, the idea that this illegal migration crisis was too complex to solve. Well, it seems like they're solving it. They might not fix the entire problem, it might not be 100% solved, but it seems like they're really chipping away at the issue. They're fixing a good chunk. And frankly, once they fix the welfare issue, the fraudulent welfare benefits being handed to illegals, well, that's probably going to increase the numbers on top of it as people self-deport, go home, as they realize the free benefits gravy train is run dry. This administration is doing it right, and no amount of fake crocodile tears from your average pink-haired Starbucks barista will ever change my mind on this issue. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.